Relining company.
There's the gavel. You can't recognize the sound. We're going to start Channel 79. Good afternoon. This is the Town of Darien Sewer Commission regular meeting on Tuesday, February 5th at 4:30 p.m. in room 206 at Darien Town Hall. We will call the meeting to order at 4:30. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the meeting of January 8th, 2019.
Yeah, no, I've read it, and it's.
I didn't see anything either.
I believe it's perfect.
So Bob has moved and Reese has seconded.
Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Perfect minutes.
Aye, 4-0. Well done.
That's a first.
That is a first. There's always a knitter in that. Item 3A, sewer user fee appeals. We have 7 Fairfield Avenue for Charles Scribner to consider. Reese and Bob tell me they've both done the math. Do you guys want to flip a coin? See who goes first?
Go ahead, Bob.
You did the math?
I did. I just felt like once in a while, I gotta jump in and do some.
Okay, well,
Keep yourself fresh.
from page 3A, 5 of 11 there is the best one, because this chart doesn't show close enough to us to right now. And it shows toilets repaired, but it actually flows into the next period. So what I did was I took all the following periods, starting with 4,
Yep.
averaged them and amortized them,
Yep.
and I came out with 348.50.
Done.
Is that what you did? Something close enough?
Close enough. I'll second that.
Okay, so we have Bob's motion to grant the appeal, which would readjust the bill to $348.50?
Yes.
Based on the, how many CCFs?
7 months of usage after the toilets were repaired.
From June 18th.
And I
through
also
12/18.
confirmed with Tamara that they don't have a sprinkler system, which it didn't look like, but
Yeah.
figured
Okay.
I would double check
And
that.
Reese has seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appeal is granted to the value indicated. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, 719 Boston Post Road, also known as Old Town Hall Homes, being redeveloped. I guess we're here to see the new sewer connection, and I'm going to guess that you are Emily Jones, P.E.
I am. I think I'm officially going to spend 4 times as long in the car as I am here.
Oh, that's optimistic.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Emily Jones. I'm a professional engineer with Civil One Engineering. We have offices in Woodbury and Shelton. And I'm here for the project at 719 Boston Post Road, Old Town Hall Houses. As you may or may not know, we went through the approval process with city planning in 2016 and 2017 to replace 6 of the existing buildings on the property with 1 larger residential building. Right here I have the demolition plan that was submitted. Basically, we propose to demo almost all the utilities on the site, storm drainage, sewer, water connections along with the building, and propose to tie in the new larger building to the existing sanitary sewer system in Post Road via a new 6-inch lateral into an existing sanitary manhole. The existing development is 30 apartment units, all 1 bedroom, so it's 30 bedrooms. And the new building will house 57 bedrooms in 55 units. So we are showing an increase of almost 2,000 gallons per day, 1,870 gallons per day due to that increase. We anticipate that the ratio will be about the same. They had kitchens, bathrooms, there's a common laundry area, there's a fitness room in the new building but no showers. So as far as bedroom to bedroom, we went with that analysis and came up with this estimated
And I was
sewage
wondering
flow.
why that would be the case. Wouldn't there be water-saving mechanisms in the new building?
Well, there could be, but with the, without having the MEP here, and he wasn't available at the time that I did the calculation, that this was just sort of
I think-
what we went with.
Yeah, I think the 70 gallons per day per bedroom is a low design number, so
Well,
I
but
wouldn't take any further credit for doing more water sense features now than in the past.
Right.
But if you, I mean, I actually looked at their water usage for 4 years as opposed to they're using numbers from 1 year.
Oh, thank you.
And it was 1,014 CCFs, the billing cycle it just passed. 1,038 the year before that. But here comes the issue. 1,500 the year before that, and 1,426 the year before that.
You are reading my mind. There've been vacancies as people have been moved around in anticipation of
Okay.
this project. So your numbers being from last year and extrapolating an increase based on the number of bedrooms, it just doesn't get there for me.
Sure, okay.
I, in a prior public life, served with Greg on EPC, but then subsequently planning and zoning, which started, I didn't particularly approve this project. I'd already moved over here. But knowing that was going on, I know the town started to meet people beforehand. And I think Bob's approach there is.
So what was the largest in the last 4 years?
The 16 cycle, it was 1,500 CCFs.
Okay.
So it's basically
About 50% more.
50% higher, yeah.
And
Okay.
I just have to say, the mix of people proposed versus the age of the people that were existing, is that changing, and would that contribute to more or less water usage based on?
I don't believe it's changing, yeah.
So they're all going to be about the same age?
3,000 gallons. They had
Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing I would ask Darren is we approved Garden Homes, which was up the road, and it was an existing office was the building, and it was converted
Oh,
to
yeah.
residential
It
use.
should, I mean,
And
that's of the course.
you guys, when you looked at it, did that have any kind of a capacity issue once it was converted that wasn't analyzed at
Not
planning
on a
and
sunny
zoning?
day.
Down the road.
What's that? Hold on.
Not on a sunny day, and that's why I asked Ms. Jones to write the letter and appear here, because the commission in the past has asked for capacity analyses downstream. Obviously, this doesn't rise to the level of the Corbin project, but there was the Garden Home project that the commission did decide they wanted to.
And there was also parklands, right?
It's a little, so describe to us where the effluent goes as it tracks down the post road.
It's important.
Goes down the post road towards the Stony Brook pump station.
So it's a direct shot.
It's a direct shot,
So
and there's,
that's a dicey, would you say that is at capacity, not at capacity, at above capacity,
they're,
based on your,
no, not in a dry day. Wet weather flows,
is that a problem coming from that direction?
we have problems with wet weather flows everywhere. There's a bit of a bottleneck at the intersection of Mechanic Street and the Post Road. That's known to be a spot where a number of pipes confluent and overwhelm the system during wet weather flows. We also know on the other side of the railroad tracks, the theater, et cetera, seems to have some issues, not to the extent that it overtops the sewer, but seems to be at or a little bit above capacity in relative to surcharging in the pipes.
So then the question, yeah, and that's a broader issue than
It is.
would be borne by a single property owner.
But it's a threshold question about scale. If Corbin had to do an analysis, and Garden Homes, there were issues.
I'm not saying.
So what's the threshold where?
I'm not saying we shouldn't do something, but I'm just thinking specifically about the I&I and the wet weather flows being the particular issue. On the one hand, this is another opportunity for us to replace an aged system with a new system with, everything inspected and jointed and air tested and so forth.
Those buildings were built in 1985. No, it's not 100 years ago.
I didn't say 100 years ago. I said aged.
Aged? Does that make us aged? Okay.
We are aged, by the way.
That happened quickly.
Yeah, it does. But if we were going to ask the engineer to analyze downstream, what would the limit be?
Well, I
Right?
think-
Certainly the pipe you're tying into, certainly, maybe the next pipe, but how far would you take this?
Well, I think you need good numbers here, too. To
Well,
me,
no,
these jumped
I'm
out
not-
as just not being a good
I'm not
analysis.
disagreeing with that.
It's not a
And
good
then-
start.
But the other issue with pipe capacity is what is the flow in the street, and do doing that by sewer shed is not as helpful as doing it by flow test,
Right.
right? So then we're talking flow test in the street, leave it in place for 6 weeks, or until you capture pick a number, half-inch rainfall event. Then you have peak flows on which to base the capacity of the pipes you're tying into, and then whether or not this increase would be an issue. I mean,
To me, it's an equity issue of scale.
well, no, I mean,
Where do
I
you-
would,
where do you- where do you throw-
I'll apply my standard of care as an engineer in private practice that, doubling flow from 30 units to 55 units, tying into a city system, I would expect to have to do a flow test and analysis of the pipe that you're tying into at the very least.
Fair enough.
And the objective is to find out if it's going to overflow the system or overwhelm the system.
No, I
Yeah.
just think
At which point?
it will eventually.
Well, our practice in the town of Darien is that if this becomes a threshold issue, or there's a pipe capacity problem that this would aggravate, it is the responsibility of the applicant to remedy before tying in. That's what we've always done. Now, I'm not saying there aren't
What do you-
circumstances
you say
to consider.
remedy? What is remedy?
Well, in the instance
Depends on
of,
what the problem is.
in the instance of,
Depends on what the problem is, but, so you look at Kensett, right? They upgraded the pump station for us, they installed a new force main down Hoyt Street. I mean, they did some pretty significant upgrades for that property, and that was 62
And this property
units,
is owned by
or 4 or 5
the town of
bedroom.
Darien?
I don't think that matters, and that's
No,
kind of where
I
I'm coming
understand
from,
that.
that it's an equity. It's
Yeah.
about doing the right thing and
I
understanding
agree.
where our
Yeah,
systems.
well, we need to.
Is it death by
we
a
need to
thousand cuts, or do
treat
we
each
start to
connection-
deal with it?
We need to treat each
Well, in
connection.
other words, it's really when, if it needs, when will you deal with it? Before you start?
I think we got to know the answer. I think we
Yeah.
don't know the
Right.
answer right now,
Right.
and we'll consider the variables when they're presented.
And I think if Garden Homes was anything that it just pops into my head, I think the project was great there, and I voted for it. If that had had a pump chamber that pumped off hours,
Yeah, there's solutions.
We
There's
discussed that,
solution.
and it never happened.
it never happened
No.
because no one thought about it ahead of time to empower the town in the approvals process to consider that, more or less.
Well, staff did present the idea. It is an unorthodox approach. I honestly have never seen it used, but it was a thought because we deal so much with stormwater retention, and that would be, a
Similar
holding
concept.
tank would allow this in wet weather to, and it was deemed to be
Well, that's
not
interesting,
viable.
because usually you do it based on timing, right? So instead of
Yeah.
releasing during the residential peak in the morning or the evening, you hold it a couple hours and you do it at 11. But I haven't seen it done based on rainfall.
It was a thought, and the
I mean,
commission and our lawyer
theoretically, you could
both
design that
rejected it.
system, but then people remembering that's what it was for is
So what are we
another
going to
issue.
ask this nice lady to do?
Well, it sounds like, now, well, before we finish, did you have anything else in
No.
terms of things that you want to present and staff?
Just remind the commission that the commission did accept a recent downstream analysis from a much larger project immediately downstream of this project. I don't know if the commission would like to consider using that or piggybacking on that. Since
Sure, I
you
mean, I would
already
share
accepted
everything.
those
I don't,
results.
the issue is, I think it's too far downstream to be relevant to what I would imagine seeing.
Okay.
Like, I don't need to go all the way to the pump station. I don't think that's necessarily
I would agree with that.
equitable, right? But I think the pipe you're tying into and do the ones, you know, the 2 or 3 or 4 downstream of that, is there a flat one or a small one, or is there a restriction that in the direction of flow? That's what I would look at, and I think whatever flow test we have for Corbin is probably too far away. I mean, you could share anything, and if it's valuable, you can use it.
You're welcome to it.
Subject to any further comment from the staff, I think I would hold off on approving the connection until we see one updated flow generation numbers for the site, based on looking for a more representative existing
Sure.
sample.
Yep.
And 2, capacity analysis of certainly the pipe you're tying into and maybe the 2 or 3 downstream from it, based on a flow test. And I would just do one flow test at the pipe you're tying into.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we're tabling this pending,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
all right?
Just so I'm clear, did
I
you
mean,
just set the scope?
is this in the way of
3.
is this in the way of a building permit? Are we delaying anything by doing what we're doing right now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right,
Yeah. Okay, so we're good. We can ask for this and wait a month and see what you come up with.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
Okay. 3 sections, you define the scope as 3 sections
Is that 3
downstream.
crossings?
It's hard, I mean,
I would think you'd want to get down to, if you're saying that
Under the-
Mechanic Street is a major confluence, then it would be Mechanic Street.
Yeah,
get past the railroad track kind of thing.
including the
It's
cable.
hard to
Or
say
technique, yeah.
what makes sense as a limit without seeing.
Well,
On that.
yeah, and if
Okay, so you're gonna come
everything
back
gets
and-
bigger and steeper,
Yeah, exactly.
you know.
Exactly. I will leave it to your judgment to look at the downstream system
Yeah.
and make a case for where you stopped.
Got it.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other comments, questions, desires?
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Ms. Jones.
You
Have a
also?
nice ride back. I hope you don't get stuck in traffic.
Have it.
All right, moving on to item number 6, 63 St. Nicholas Road Sewer Lateral Connection, discussion and action. And a long sewer lateral connection.
Package, you have this,
Way back.
which is a proposed
Anybody here
sketch.
representing the applicant?
Well, yeah, there's representatives here that probably want to talk, but if I could just
Yes, you will do the intro then?
do an intro.
Thank you,
Sort of.
Darren.
The piece of paper that you have that came with your package is a proposed sketch. Here today, I passed out a smaller 8.5 by 11, which is an as-built sketch. The thing that's missing from the as-built sketch is property lines. This bigger map does show the property lines, but does not, it's not an as-built drawing. Back in 2006, we allowed, back in 2006, we allowed the owners of 65 to install a sewer to serve their property. And while that was being done, a parallel line was put in, and it appears to be on the property of 65 most of the way, and terminate on the, for 63, it terminates on their property, but 63 was never connected. We allowed this to happen. It makes the most sense for one trench to be dug, 2 pipes to be put in. It was an awful lot of work, and it made sense for them to dig 1 trench, which is what they did.
Okay, so there's 2 pipes all the way up to where the driveway splits off.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
And they're in
And-
the ground already.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And over 10 years later, I think it's 13, the owners of 63 now want to connect to the sewer lateral that was put in place there for them.
Gonna hold my breath now.
And we have reason to believe from this map that that sewer lateral actually crosses over the property of 65 on its way down to St. Nicholas Road. And also, if you look near the road out there, it appears that the sewer might actually skirt the edge of the property of 63 from 65.
Oh, you're at the very end where it says clean out, you're saying it's cut off?
Exactly, yeah. It probably crosses their property. It's hard to tell.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we
Wait for the punchline,
allow
Darren.
the property owner of 63 to connect into the sewer, we thought this would be a good time to tidy up the
Yes.
easement issue that never seemed to have been resolved.
Yes. Okay, that was a little bit of an oversight, but, on somebody's part. But, yeah, clearly, 63 should have an easement over the access way of 65. Now, they probably do, right? There's a driveway that goes through there, or what?
The driveway appears to meander across both properties
Yeah,
and serve both lots.
Yep.
Both of the lots were at one time one lot.
is 63 a flag also, or is 63 a?
Yes,
Okay,
they're both flag lots.
got it.
And there are representatives here who would like to.
So really, if they just had rights over each other's flags, that would kind of solve all problems.
It would.
Okay, so
In
who
our
wants to talk first and tell me that that's not a problem?
Flag, it just has.
Wait, we've used addresses. Who are the two owners of these lots?
I'm Paul Harris for the record.
Yes.
I'm representing Dina Di Lorenzo, who owns 63 now.
Okay,
And Mrs. Stevenson is here, and she owns 65.
we know her. Okay, got it.
And I'm sure Mrs. Stevenson remembers what exactly happened far better than I've been piecing together. But apparently, when the Stevensons ran this sewer line and water line to their property, which is about a 400-foot run before the properties break out, the previous owner, Mr. Harold, Harold, thank you, declined to participate in the installation of these pipes.
Got it.
So, so this is 2000, so about a year ago, or less, my client, Mrs. Di Lorenzo, purchased this property, and during that, we did our due diligence, and we saw there was a sewer line there, and we didn't discover until last week. We actually had pulled a permit and went to actually obtain it and realized that there may be an easement issue, maybe a double easement issue based on what you guys have just reviewed with Darren. In consulting my attorney on it, who pulled up the deed, there was a clause in the deed that he found in Schedule A that basically states that both parties have rights over each other's portion where the driveway is.
Okay.
For road access, construction vehicles, and utilities.
Okay.
Was that only on one deed?
Yeah.
Well, that's on the deed that he pulled for 63, so I'm not sure what's on 65's deed. And this is just information that I found. So whether or not that's relevant enough to,
Well, because this isn't, I mean, since
Yeah.
these are individual laterals,
right,
it's not a sewer main that we would take care of, or that we would need an easement to take care of, right? So this really is.
because they're laterals.
Yeah, they're laterals.
Yeah.
This is really effectively a private easement between the two parties. But we can't let, sewer from a private property go over another private property without knowing that there's an easement in place. And that's why we're here. So, tell me if I'm off base or I'm not
The Sewer
catching all of it.
Commission has been pretty consistent in acknowledging that laterals are both private property, and if a lateral is going to pass over the private property of another, that an easement be granted, and if a lateral is to be shared, that in addition to that, a sewer maintenance agreement would be issued and reviewed by town council. In this case, that's not necessary because they are two separate laterals.
So the question is, if each deed says the properties have rights to each other's access ways, including for
Utilities.
utilities,
But we have to find,
are we done?
no, because you don't know what the other one says.
Well, yeah, no,
Yeah.
if we get confirmation that both deeds say that, are we done?
So I think we would have to pull,
Yeah.
65's
Yeah.
deed to see what the language is.
Am I missing anything? That seems
Other
pretty
than
straightforward.
that,
Yeah, okay.
see
The
you
good
next
news is
time.
you don't have to build this one.
I didn't have to build the last one either. But I appreciate that.
Now, so it's 400 feet from,
It's approximately 400 feet from
road.
St. Nicholas to where the long driveway, shared driveway ends and the main parcels begin,
Did you ever,
give or
and then how
take.
much further is it gonna be? Because to me, 400 feet's already stretching the limit from a cleanout.
I think there are already cleanouts
Yeah,
up
if
that
you
way.
look at
Yeah.
the 8.5 by 11 that I passed out tonight,
Oh, those are all cleanouts.
yeah,
Look at that.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
It's like every 75 feet.
Perfect. I just didn't see him on the other one.
yep,
All right, great.
that's it.
So we're tabling this one until we have more information.
Clarify that?
Yep.
But basically, you understand what we're looking for.
in the past, the commission has,
Oh, we don't necessarily need to see it again if you guys confirm this.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to say?
well, I'm not qualified to review a deed, and...
Oh, you want the town attorney to
in-
agree that,
In lesser circumstances, where I felt extremely confident, the commission has directed staff to go to the town attorney.
well, we should be consistent with our past practice, so it should be a pretty quick study for them if they both say what we think they say.
So we're looking for hard copies of
If
both,
not,
Yes.
fix it.
Review the Schedule A's of each property and
so that we could
Verify
submit them
them.
to town council for their, his review and blessing.
Well, but if the other one does not, then in order to get this done,
We're going to have to update
get
the
it
deed.
get it amended or
Yeah,
whatever,
exactly.
if the owner wants to.
One step at a time.
The first step.
yeah.
One step at a
Let's
time.
look what they- let's see what they say.
All right. Thank you very much. Item 6, Boston Post Road at Garden City Road, sewer main break of October 2nd, 2018. Discussion?
The pipe is relined.
Full stop.
All right?
I think, if I could call something that I think is interesting to your attention, is that it appears that above the normal flow line is where the pipe was eroded. And in the top photo before, you could see that the bottom of the pipe doesn't appear to be too eroded.
I think
Top
Bob
does.
explained why last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, the
Hydrogen
hydrogen
sulfide.
sulfide, yes.
Hydrogen sulfide mixes with water and creates sulfuric acid, which eats the concrete.
Yes, and if you look at the photo below, you can sort of see a line
Telegraphing, huh?
where the annulus has been reduced above and where the original, it's
Yeah,
kind of
where-
like a shelf.
Where it juts out, yes.
Even the liner
I'm going to have to look up the word annulus.
shows that.
Is that because the concrete didn't wear out as
What
much
was the
there?
word?
Yeah.
Annulus.
Annulus?
I'm going to have to look that one
Okay.
up.
Okay,
All
sorry.
right, let's make sure you're using it right.
Spell it.
I'm afraid.
I'm gonna have to look, just to make sure.
Didn't know there'd be a quiz.
See if we're getting bogus stats here.
And that happened on January 14th and 15th, and it was 19 degrees.
Wow. And they're not worried about that, sir? An annulus is a ring-shaped object, structure, or region.
Okay.
Well, but
I think it's good. I think
Take that one to your next dinner party.
part,
little section
structure,
of that.
or marking resembling a ring.
We need the Jeopardy theme song.
consider the section at least.
I like learning. Learning's good.
Absolutely.
We paid him today. We
Okay.
approved the bill.
Any,
We're up to about $125,000.
have we heard anything from
No,
any property owners? Okay,
that does not, the 125 does not include any potential claims.
got it.
So as the pipe rots away, there's actually more volume.
Yeah,
And
reline.
less
yeah,
structural
minus the
stability.
thickness of the
Hey,
pipe.
it's a trade-off. It's still round. That's good.
This was not easy. This was not fun. This is not something I want to do again. So,
Well, you got a weird job for that, then.
well, we're going to try to get out in front of it now. Now that we know.
This is a thing. How do we know this is a thing? Let's look at where our other force mains discharge and camera those lines.
Very good.
And that would
So
be
we have
part of it,
scheduled to go out and inspect those.
but-
Yeah, great.
And I only need to, it sounds like I only need to inspect the first 25 or 30 feet, because that's pretty much where we got hit the hardest. And that'll give us an indication if
What's
that
the
pipe
best?
has some structural issues that we need to address immediately, rather than doing it, on January 14th when it's 19 degrees out, because that's not the way this should be done.
Will the line pipe flow much better? It looks much smoother.
Well, yeah, it'll have a better
Yeah,
mannings end.
And to Ed's point, if you look at the pipe marker, what I tried to do, these are screenshots from the video. What I tried to do is get the exact same place, so if you look, it's about 12 feet in. The one
Yeah.
above is 12.2 feet, and the one below is 12.16. So you
You're off by
are
a half-
looking
You're
at
off by
the,
half an inch.
excuse me?
You're off by half an inch.
A half an, yeah. You are looking at approximately the same section of pipe, which, as
Yeah.
Ed mentioned, is
And you can
very
actually,
early in
like
the
you
pipe.
said, you can see the geometry in each picture. Yeah.
Yep. And by the way, this.
It is,
This is by the.
it's not entirely,
Replaced.
relaxing to look at this, given the amount of concrete that is missing.
It's going.
A lot of these get their stability from the backfill, and the backfill is static. And how deep is this line?
Had about 7.5, 8 feet.
So you got 5-6 feet of clear cover on it.
Yeah,
This is what's
easily.
missing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it should.
Yes, because you could.
It was in the gutter
see
line.
where it
I
bumps
mean,
out.
All the steel is in place and in good condition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now it's lined on the
not
inside.
closer to the pipe where we replaced.
Well, you took that whole
That's-
thing out.
Yeah, that steel was gone.
Yeah,
Steel
that's why it
too.
collapsed.
But at least here, you can still see this ribbing.
Yep.
There's still concrete,
So what the-
which means there's at least another inch and a half of concrete
So
above
it was
it.
like a 4-inch, 3.5-inch pipe, that the rebar would be in the middle? So
Generally,
about
so.
an inch and a half?
So 24-inch pipe has 3 inches of concrete, inch and a half of concrete outside, inside.
Yeah.
Well, look, as always, you guys handle this really well, and, all I get to do is sit and learn, which is fun.
We'll be starting the inspections of the,
Yeah, keep us in the loop on that.
with better weather, yes. If it stays warm like this for a little while, we'll get the larger ones done. But we'll inspect all the 14 of the outlets.
Thank you.
Even though all 14 of the discharges from our pump.
Oh, from the discharge, but,
That includes the ones in Stanford, too.
okay. But my question I was going to was, is there like a plan to, say, a 5 or 10-year plan to camera the entire system?
I don't believe that's a good use of funds to do a full boat inspection of the whole system. I think there's needs to do it and focus on areas that have issues with joints, roots, blockages, low flows, so I want to focus on them first. So a 5-year plan would be, let's focus on our troubled areas where we don't see issues or problems right now. Maybe that's on the out years. But I don't want to put that into a plan. I don't think that's efficient use of the money.
Now, since I'm not familiar with the equipment Darien, this is all outsourced, or is any of this able to be handled in-house?
We will outsource the camera work in this.
Okay.
Oh, you will? Okay.
We're going to have to. The camera that we have can't handle the larger pipes that we have. And we did look at purchasing a setup, camera, a trailer, or whatever. It's like $75,000.
Oh, yeah, it's not worth it.
So right now, it's not effective, cost-effective for us to do that.
All right, item number 7, Superintendent's Report. II Consultant RFP.
So jumping into that, I just started putting that together. I was pulling some documents together from previous work done. I also contacted some other engineers that have done it. I've asked them to give me some proposals or RFPs that they've used or seen in the past. So I'm going to put together a comprehensive I&I RFP, if you will, to go out. I am shooting for March, depending on how my meetings go and budgets go. This last January wasn't as conducive to getting work done. Seems that February is just a little bit quiet. And if you can keep the snow off my back for a little bit, I'll be able to spend a little bit more time on this.
No problem, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I printed them, but I didn't read them.
Did you?
RFPs, yeah, from all over the place, from the Caribbean to Alaska to New Hampshire.
I'm going to try to stay in New England a little bit.
It was just what came up. I
Yeah.
didn't actually print those, I just saw them. I'm just trying to add a little levity to the situation.
Moving on.
25 Renshaw Road, Mrs. Campbell. I apologize, I've yet to be able to contact her to get inside to take a look and talk to
Okay.
her about our proposal that we discussed last month.
Okay. Any questions on that?
No, Matt,
Item
did we
C.
hear anything from 74 Crispy Hill?
No. We did reach out and left messages and called, so we're going to continue to keep calling. And we'll start writing letters again if we need to.
Okay.
But, no, they did not respond to us or our letters since a while ago.
All right, next.
I'm sorry.
All right.
All right, the last one, I think we're going to have to go into executive session. We had a great meeting last
Okay.
Friday, and we're pretty close to wrapping this negotiation up, but there's a couple items on there that I need to discuss with you gentlemen.
All right, before we do that, is there any other business we want to discuss under the regular meeting?
I have no new business.
Okay.
Anyone from the public?
Mr. No, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I was just kind of hanging around. But I see you're gonna line the pipe that blew up, which is probably good.
Already lined. You can have the picture.
I don't want a picture. I don't need that. No. Okay. Everybody asked me if I took pictures of my yard, looked like after that thing blew up, but I didn't. I got flooded with, everything that leaked out in the street. Went in storm drain and then.
What's your, so why don't you come to the,
I'm sorry, what was
Oh,
your name?
okay.
give full name and address.
Chris, no,
I know.
N-O-E.
For the record,
Thank you.
There you go.
I'm Chris
I can do
No.
it too.
I live at 242 Old Kings Highway South, and I know this guy. And I know him, and I know you, Mr. Flooding himself, the guy who derailed the whole $20 million project. We had to fix flooding in the town of Darien. All right, so.
It's not necessarily the description I give myself, but, I expect nothing less than coming from you.
That's what happened. Okay, so I got flooded with sewage on October 3rd. The pipe that blew up across from Smoky Joe's, whatever it is over there, the Italian restaurant. It's not Smoky Joe's, it's something
Papa
else.
Joe's.
Papa Joe's. Yeah, so that thing detonated, and millions of gallons of sewage went down. And I checked on the Connecticut Deep Department of, I don't know, whatever deep means, and no one put down the estimated volume of water that was lost in that thing. It's like all it says is there was a breach or a break, and no one even guesstimates. It's kind of ridiculous. I looked it up, and there was another thing about what blew up on front of 27 Renshaw right over here. You can see it from these windows. And I think that said 650 gallons, and that thing was like a manhole cover, basically off and flowing, gushing. It was 650 gallons a minute, not at 650 gallon spill. So I don't know what you guys would guesstimate was lost when the Stony report says, the pump station handles, I don't know, millions of gallons every day. So I got flooded with sewage, which I knew was coming. I've run for first selectman 4 times. At every campaign, I always said this old sewer line is going to blow up, and it's going to happen during a storm, and it did. So, Chris guessed it again right. I hate being right, but it happened again. So what happened was the river was high, so all that sewage went down the storm drains and right into Stony Brook, and what didn't go in the storm drains went down Route 1 and pooled across the street from my house in front of Glen Gorham Lane. And so what happened was the river was high, and the water dumped basically 50 feet north of my property into Stony Brook. So it didn't even cross the river. It just came down on my side of the river and flooded me out. And it was quite disgusting. And after the water went down, I found the standard debris of what washes up on my property after a storm, which this year was actually pretty substantial. I had I had a truck bed liner, a plastic truck bed for like a pickup truck. That's a big piece of plastic, 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 6 feet tall. That was laying on my
At
grass.
least we know that didn't come out of the sewer.
That didn't come out of the sewer. That came down the river. But that's like the standard stuff. But what did come out of the sewer was lots of flushable girly products, like tampons were laying on my grass. And did not find any condoms, though. So I think the town of Darien is not protecting themselves properly, or they're not flushing, which is even better. But, so it was quite disgusting. So anyhow, so I had I got this dump truck. I used to be able to take it to the dump. And, but I'm no longer allowed to do that. So I have to get a special permit. So I didn't have the ability to move these things, and I wasn't going to put that truck body thing in my van. So the first time ever, after living on Stony Brook for 30 years and being the keeper of my little piece of Stony Brook, I threw everything back in the river, which was a lot, and it was way more than I would ever do. But I was so disgusted and so fed up, and that's where I'm at now. So, but anyhow,
I'm sorry, so you just said that you took garbage and refuse and threw it into Stony Brook?
Absolutely.
Okay,
It
continue.
washed into my property from Stony Brook, and Stony Brook was still full of sewage. And if you want to go to my Facebook page, you can go there, Chris No, because I'm going to upload a couple of videos that I took down because they were just too repulsive to leave there. But I'll do that before the end of tonight. But there's a video I shot of driving up, I'm stopped at the light at Rings End Road, and there's this blonde woman walking, perhaps her child, or maybe she's a nanny, but walking through the sewage. And it's quite disgusting. And then I've got a video that I shot in my backyard. The water's gone down substantially, but you can see that it's just loaded with sewage. And that's after you guys had one pump working, one 6-inch pump, try to pick the water up and take it past where the break was. So, the thing that I really have a problem with is I used to be on the RTM, and I was on Public Works Committee. And Pat Dorenzo gave me a thing on the Stony Brook pump station. He said, you ought to read this. And I did. And it basically, I just ordered it and bought it by Freedom of Information. And it doesn't seem to be the same report that I read years ago, or maybe I just don't remember it the same way. But there are some things about it that are different. But Malcolm Pierney is the people who did the engineers who did the report. And they were studying.
What was the date of the report?
What's the date of it? 2005.
Okay, so it's actually useless because we've replaced all 3 pumps in that pump station since 2005.
They talk about that, and the report is not absolutely useless. I mean, basically what happens here
They
is.
talk about the future in that report?
I read the report from 2005.
Thank you.
It says to replace the sewer line leaving the pump station
I remember
with a
that report.
16-inch line. Okay? They said in that report that they had 3 pumps in it. You guys may have put new, bigger pumps in it, more powerful pumps. But the fact is, the line is from 1938, so it's now 80 years old, probably grossly undersized. The town has grown substantially. The amount of sewage breaches that we have, manhole covers popping off, it's been going on basically forever, or for a very long time. I knew people on Crimmins Road who no longer live here, but they have a cover that was sealed by the town. It's right in the backyard, basically, of the Stony Brook pump station. And that was Vanessa Wood, her property, for maybe 27 Crimmins Road, 27, I don't know. But anyhow, so basically, the pipe is not getting replaced, and you guys keep approving stuff. And since 2005, you've connected all of Long Neck Point with that big sewer project. We're now going to build something downtown. I mean, the town keeps growing, but we don't have the infrastructure. And if engineers told us in 2005, and now it's 2014, and nothing's still been done, that's very Darien, isn't it? And I'm the guy who is getting flooded, but, for the most part, the water just passes by me. And I don't mind when it's river water, but when it's sewage, that's, sorry, that's It's just how it is, I guess. But it's not, it's not right. You know, we're a town of environmentally conscious
So
people.
it's a big picture, and I don't,
There's not a big picture. There's not a big picture. The picture is very small. The pipe needs to be replaced. That's it.
Chris, I would have thoroughly agreed with you before I sat here for 2.5, 3 years, now 4 years, I don't know how long it's been. The problems that we have are mostly related to infiltrating water, people's sump pumps, their leader pipes, and any breaks in the line, mostly the sump pumps. That station could handle everything we have for just sewage if it wasn't for infiltration.
That's right. That's
So
right. But every,
The solution
tell me the solution.
is figuring out who's illegally connecting to the sewer
That
without violating people's personal rights, which
And
is
that-
very difficult. You know, you're a contractor.
You'll never figure that out.
You have to, it's something we have to do.
You'll
It's our
never, it's never
responsibility.
going to happen.
Now, the interesting thing, and we're noticing this, the new builds, like you just mentioned Long Neck Point, that's a pressurized system. I was on planning and zoning when that was approved.
Yeah.
There's no way to put your leader pipes or your sump pump easily into that. You're going to be able to pick that up easier. It's going to be all new plumbing. It's not going to be done in the 30s underground somewhere else and not visible. So a lot of the times the new builds, especially, you know, like Stanford, you've seen high rises that may or may not generate less volume per unit because they're brand new. And they're not built the way some house from the 30s that had a high water table that's constantly ejecting water into the system. So the problem is the older homes, that as they get torn down and renewed, we have to make sure that those connections aren't reestablished.
That's wishful thinking.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's making people responsible.
Well, we still
For
have,
what they put in the sewer.
every manhole cover in the street has those two little holes for popping the thing open. So even if you sealed everything like you
It's
said.
not sealing. No, just the capacity alone. If there wasn't the infiltration,
I get that.
we could double the size of the town, no
I
worries.
totally
Maybe
get-
2.5 times. It's purely related to the infiltration that coincides during a rain
I
event.
guess what I want to do is, if I could summarize your commentary, it is, you feel as though you are exposed to system overflows running through your property. You feel as though the infrastructure is either too old or not big enough to handle what it should handle. And you feel as though the town and/or the sewer commission is not doing enough to solve that problem. Have I summarized what you came here to say?
No, because you put it all on me. I'm going from the Malcolm Kearney report that says to replace the 12-inch line with a 16-inch
But
line.
yes.
That's what the professionals say.
Yeah,
okay?
and
You're an
I-
engineer, but I don't think maybe you are a hydraulic engineer, I don't know. But Malcolm Kearney is like, and around here, they're basically those guys.
And that was 2005. And
That was
it's 2019.
2005. And then
since
we've added to the
2005
system, So.
Okay,
But-
you either want to hear what we have to say or you don't.
No,
So
I
finish
want to-
talking and then you can leave.
Please, continue. Please, continue.
Before we replaced those pumps, it was studied again. Since the pumps have been replaced, we've seen how the system is performing. And it's been determined that the pumps had a greater impact on the capacity of that pump station than the size of the force main. That's why we felt comfortable not replacing the size of the force main, because of the performance of the pumps.
Okay,
So that's new information
Okay.
since the Malcolm Kearney report from 2005.
okay. So what's the new one say? I mean, tell me about the new, it was a study similar to the 2005.
It's the actual performance of the pumps and what they're able to handle in terms of the capacity coming into the pump station.
Yeah, but you have to have like flow meters of all the water that's going in, and then the flow meter showing what it's able to discharge. And then if you have, like in the 2005 one, they had a loss of about 1 million gallons. 1 million gallons was going that way, and it probably came out in, on Crimmins Road, you know, that storm drain that came off on sewer, the lid that came off at the Vanessa Woods house. It probably blew out there because that wasn't sealed then. And, you know, it's okay if it floods, because I'm prepared for things to flood, and I'm going to lift my house, and I'm going to protect myself from you guys, okay? But I'm an environmentalist, okay? So the discharges, they don't sit well with me at all. So we have, I got friends whose kids sail all summer long at the yacht club, at the Nairobi Yacht Club. And, if we had a rain the day before and there was over, whatever, and the beach is closed, those kids still go sailing. And it's the same water. I mean, some guy can go down and launch his jet ski, and it's the same water, but the beach is closed. And a guy who wants to take his boat out, it's the same water. So, when I was on Public Works, when I was on the Public Works Committee, it was the same dialogue of, it's the people who have their sump pump connected to their laundry sink in the basement. And I get it. That's what's happening, okay? But for the town of Darien to enforce that, it's just not going to happen. It's like impossible. I mean, I know guys who are legitimate builders, and they hook it up. They hook them up all the time. I won't do it.
So if you could wave a magic wand,
But you can't.
what action would you see performed by the town?
I see something where, if you have an engineer's study and you pay all the money to have it done, that it actually gets done. I mean, if you want to look back to what happened with the flooding in 2007 and what Yvonne did with all that, I was on there at the end. We approved $20 million. You were there. Will this town ever approve $20 million again? Never. 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 I mean, it'll never, ever happen. That was like... So there's opportunities that we have just because there's some people in power who are caring enough to do something.
But Chris, it sounds like your solution is the capacity of the pumps need to increase for people's poor behavior. I mean, we were asking, you've seen the questions tonight.
I know.
We asked a project engineer to come back and do a full analysis. There's no rubber stamping here. We're constantly looking for opportunities to
I get that.
increase the efficiency of the system, the reliability of the system.
I get that.
And they save electricity. Everything we can do from a fiscal, conservative, long-term planning board, we're acting that way.
Okay,
And you're
so-
saying just give up on people illegally hooking up?
No,
I just
no,
don't-
no,
I don't
no,
buy
no,
that.
No, it's just that it's not enforceable. You would
There are
have-
licensed professionals that are installing those most of the time. I have a contractor's license, you
Yeah.
have a contractor's
Yeah.
license.
Yeah.
We're either responsible or not.
I'll never do it. I'll never do it. I mean, but I've been in people's houses that have illegal apartments and every other thing, and you can't snitch on them because then you don't.
I think the town of Darien's done very well with finding illegal apartments, back from when Dave Keating first came on board here in 1984.
don't
He's
know.
always been very good, and when properties are sold, a lot of times those things are corrected.
Well, I know where there's 7 still today, so.
I can count them too.
Yeah,
But that's not a reason, that's not a reason to not put that high on the priority list when that's the main problem. I mean, I've brought that up more than once on future development. At some point, if that isn't addressed, it will start to affect the possibility of future development.
I get it. Okay, so.
So making a bigger pipe and making more pumps and pushing it out down.
It's not more pumps.
It's not the answer. Well, you're
It's
saying
not
the
more
26,
pumps.
you're saying the pipe is undersized. That's the Malcolm
That's
Kearney
what
report.
Malcolm Kearney
The
said.
Malcolm, based on all their information, if you can reduce the flows by stopping people from adding to the flows,
That's right.
it's doing the same thing.
That's right, but it's.
But your solution would be to make a bigger pipe, just like the drainage.
That was Malcolm Peardy's solution. That's not my solution. That's their solution.
That was one of the suggestions.
And the Malcolm Peardy report also showed that, that we were pushing that water through the pipe at 110 pounds pressure. I don't know what the pressure is now, but it takes huge amounts of electricity to move water at high pressure. So at some point, what we save in electricity.
That's why we've done the pumps. They were a massive amount of cost savings. You know, it's
Okay.
on the margins, but it all adds up.
It all adds up.
We're here doing that.
It all adds up, but when we have, our beaches are closed, the message from Jamie Stevenson a couple of years ago was that the sewage was coming from private systems. I mean, I've got a septic system in my house, and I'll never hook up to the city sewer, especially your city sewer, because it's useless. So, but the fact is, it's the town's.
All right,
sewer.
I'm going to cut you off. We've given
That's
you,
good.
we've given you 25 minutes of airtime.
I'm done.
If there's anything else you'd like to say, you can write it and
Tell Channel 79 that.
Yes, Channel 79 and our
Make a motion.
Do we have any
Motion
new
to enter into
business?
secretary,
executive session.
we're about to vote to go into executive session. Do I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Will you be conducting any business
We
after?
will not do any business after.
No.
We're simply going to close.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Do I have a second?
Here.
Peter seconds. Any further discussion?
I'll let you know when the meeting ends.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now going into executive session.